You will own nothing and be happy. This phrase is one that drives me mental. It's a phrase I have no doubt you have heard before. However, it has a much different context than what Ubisoft would want you to believe. The original context of this phrase was done by a Danish politician, and I am sorry if I mispronounce this, Ida Ayuken? Yeah, I'm just gonna assume that's how it's said. It probably isn't. The original context of the phrase and why she said it is to imagine a future where we can only lease products and not actually own them. If this makes you angry, then it should, because it's one of the dumbest things you will ever hear. And it does also link into this video's topic in how physical media is in deep danger right now. So, how does what I just said link into this video's topic? Well, that's because Sony, or PlayStation, they're basically the same thing, announced on July 1st, 2026 that they will be ending the physical production of game discs. And they're ending it January 2028, in case you're curious. Depending on when you watch this video, this may or may not have already happened. Yeah, this just boils my blood. There is no excuse for this. I don't care what statistics they throw at me. I don't care if they want to blame the industry. Ooh, industry this, industry that. We all know it's a bunch of baloney. We all know there's more going on to this than they want us to believe. So yeah, this news should anger you, it really should. Because who knows what else could happen should, Sony get away with it pretty much unscathed. So, I'm sure most of you know what a digital game is. You have a surface level understanding on what they are. Well, you need to know more, because digital games aren't really games. They're just licenses to be able to play said games. Now, I'm aware that there are some pros to digital, but not a lot. As, yeah, they're convenient. You don't need to get up, do this and that. You can just play them. Assuming they don't need a download. But yeah, I think that's the only positive. Let's just get to the negatives right away. So, the fact that you have a license and not actually a game? Yeah, they can just take it away from you. Just like that. Can't do a thing about it. Don't get a refund. You don't get a statement. They just take it. Do you see why these are bad now? We'll get more into the nitty gritty as the video progresses, but yeah, digital games never were games to begin with. Another thing that Sony are pretty infamous for in more modern times is shutting down game studios. There have been several occasions where they bought out a studio, but because they didn't make a game that didn't make a load of buckaroonies for them, they just trashed them, tossed them to the side like they were nothing. Never mind the fact that you bought them out. Yeah, there are plenty of examples of that, and I have massive empathy for those who are working really hard on those mostly live service games, only for the higher ups at Sony to stick the middle finger and put you out of a job. My deepest condolences go to all of you. Right, as I mentioned earlier, Sony ending disc production? Yeah, it does a lot more than you think. As I mentioned earlier, you can only buy licenses from their official stores. You don't actually own the game. And you know, being able to simply take it away from you? No refunds, no nothing? Yeah, that's pretty bad. Another thing that is pretty bad is that video game and media preservation gets affected. Yeah, preservation, especially in the modern day, is very important. So many games have come and gone, and some were not able to be preserved, whether it's because of old technology or they got delisted or anything like that. Yeah, game preservation would be terribly affected by this. I care very deeply about preservation. I really do. All of this sounds pretty bad enough, right? Do you want to know what the ultimate irony to this is? So, if you were also not aware about this, Sony's PlayStation Network went down just a little while after the announcement to stop physical disc production. Another fun fact about digital games: you can't access them when the servers are down, and if you're a trophy hunter, you know, PlayStation's achievement system, you can't do nothing without the internet if you got it digitally. So yeah, the fact that the servers went down should be a very clear warning to Sony that maybe this is a bad idea, and that maybe they shouldn't do this. Yeah, I just thought that was kind of funny, honestly. It's just further proving our point as to why this is a bad decision, honestly. So, you're not actually buying a game digitally. You're buying a license to be able to play it. What are you trying to say about physical media, I hear you ask? Well, that's because physical games have a lot of benefits. A lot. The first one, which I very much reap from, is file compression. File compression is very important for physical games, as when you're making a disc or a cartridge, there are certain size limits, and obviously you're going to want to fit with it as much as possible if you want to make a true physical game. I hate the whole game disc and game keycard thing, but I'll get into that in a little bit. So, with games' file sizes getting bigger and bigger as the industry, I don't want to say evolves, but that's the technical term they'll want you to use. Yeah, you're going to want all the storage you can. And with file compression, it can greatly benefit keeping your storage as high as possible. I have had many times where I have gotten a physical game, did what I needed to do to be able to play it, and wow, would you look at that, my storage either didn't go lower or barely did. Neat, right? That's one of the benefits of physical games. Another benefit that physical games can have: they can actually be cheaper than digital. Obviously, this will depend on your local retailer, but yeah, they can be cheaper than digital games. And it's not just whether the store normally sells it that way, but it's, you know, if they have a sale, it's like, wow, look at that, a game that was previously slightly below market price is even lower. Yeah, I'm gonna buy that just of principle alone. Cheaper prices are obviously things we all want nowadays, as our planet gets more and more capitalistic, but we're not going to get into that. We don't want to get into the doom and gloom of modern life. That's just something I needed to briefly bring up. But yeah, having video games be cheaper is always a win, absolutely. Especially if there's games that you've wanted to play or you've heard high praise from. it can genuinely lift the experience if your game is cheaper than what the company usually sells it for. Another good thing about physical games is the fact that you actually own them. Now, I am aware that game keycards and game key discs very much exist. I'm not a fan of those, but for the Switch 2's case for game keycards, at least they still bothered to make the card. Yes, it's not ideal, but considering what we've got going on in the future, or now, depending on when you're watching this, yeah, they don't seem that bad anymore. But anyways, apart from those awkward examples, you actually own the game. Isn't that fun? And another thing that's fun, game preservation. Now, companies really don't seem to care about this. They'd rather move on to the next wacky new thing and leave what they made in the dust. We, however, would like to preserve our games, and there are multiple ways you can do it. Number 1, the old-fashioned way. Keep it in its case. Keep it in ideal conditions so the game can last as long as possible. Companies say that they only last between 1 to 2 decades, but I think they can last longer with the proper amount of care. Another way to preserve games, and this is for the big brains out there, the computer scientists if you will, backing them up on a computer and or a hard drive. Yeah, that is actually possible, and companies hate that, so yeah. That's another cool thing about physical media, being able to back it up in whatever way you want. And plus, I think being able to hold a game case and hold the game in your hands, it's just really neat. It's just to let you know that yes, this is yours. You own it. Big corporation can't do a thing about it. One last, no doubt underrated benefit that physical games have, you can usually play them right as you put them in. Yes, the day one patch exists, but technically speaking, for most games, you don't need to do that. You can just play right then and there. It's your choice if you want to get the day one patch or any others, but it's not required mostly, so yeah, that's really cool. And if the servers go down one day, let me give you an example, the Nintendo Switch 1 servers go down, I can still play my physical copy of Metroid Dread, I can still play Luigi's Mansion 3, I can still play basically any game I got in a case. So yeah, that's another thing that companies hate with physical ownership. Even when their online servers have long gone down and they can't make any more money off them, you can still play older titles. So yeah, very underrated benefit here. Yeah, so Sony is not sounding good right now. Is there anything that we can do to tell them this is a bad idea? Yes. As a matter of fact, many people have already been boycotting in their own ways. Mainly, on Twitter, whenever PlayStation would, well, announce anything PlayStation, they would get community noted to hell and back. People will not let them forget this. And I agree with them. We shouldn't let Sony forget about how terrible of a decision this is. This is genuinely one of the worst things they could have ever announced. Another boycott, which granted I don't think this one is even going to be effective, is a fan boycott known as the PlayStation Blackout. The idea is, 1 week in August, which may or may not have already happened, they don't do anything PlayStation. They cancel their PlayStation Plus, they don't buy anything PlayStation, they just leave it for a week. Now, that's the problem. It's only for a week. That's nothing to Sony. If you truly care about the bad decisions that they've been making, if you really want to make a change, the boycott has to be permanent. It has to be permanent until they make the changes you want to see. Yeah, it has good intentions, but again, nowhere near enough impact. It needs to be permanent. Like, come on guys, we can do better than that. Oh yeah, speaking of PlayStation Plus, yeah, loads of people were cancelling theirs as a form of boycott, which I'd argue that's more effective than spending a week not doing anything on PlayStation, but yeah, it's good to see that happen, as, you know, PlayStation Plus is one of their biggest money makers. To be honest, any online subscription is. Seriously, that is a scam that honestly went under the radar, having to pay to play online. But that's a whole other discussion for another time. Now, I found a website quite a while ago that is actually really good for documenting whether or not you actually own a game. And it's called Does It Play? They have a whole little criteria and everything, talking about whether you fully own your game or not. And they have tested games on numerous platforms, so I highly recommend you check out the website Does It Play to see whether you actually own your game. It's a good source, I recommend it. Plus, they've been joining in with the whole boycott too, so that's an absolute plus. Okay, we need to address a massive elephant in the room. An elephant that just so happened to appear next to the other one that was the ending of physical games. GTA 6. Oh boy, I don't know how to feel anymore. So yeah, you know, casually the most hyped game in existence like ever. Yeah, that has a bit of a play with this too. It wouldn't be surprising if they tried to use GTA 6 to hide this announcement, but that didn't go well for them. Why am I talking about this game? Because some of the business practices they've already done before the game has even come out is to lock basic features behind a paywall. You know, you want to customize the characters in the story mode? Pay up, buddy. You gotta pay extra for the Ultimate Edition. You want certain cars? Pay up, buddy. Yeah, this is biblical levels of greed. Rockstar, you have lost your damn mind. And what sucks is, it's gonna be successful anyway, because again, it's the most hyped game in existence. Yes, even more than Hollow Knight Silksong was. Yeah, so it's like, I know talking about this is kind of pointless, because it's like, a lot of pre-orders were made right as they went live, so yeah, that really sucks. What should have been a celebration of the next step in video game evolution is now a warning of how greedy corporations can get. What's next? For the next Sonic game, if I want to play as Tails, I have to pay for the Super Extra Deluxe Edition. Screw off, Rockstar, screw off. You know what's really sad about all this? Despite saying about boycotts and, you know, saying that, you know, we can try and fight back, Sony did respond to the backlash of ending physical disc production. And you can already tell where this is going. They don't care. They said about experimenting with a digital-only future. Yeah, that translates to screw you, we don't care, we're gonna do it anyway. Well, all I'm saying is don't act surprised if the PlayStation 6 flops. Yeah, obviously they're still gonna have their fanboys who would sacrifice themselves if it meant they got early access to something like the PlayStation 6, but yeah, what a terrible response. You know what would have been slightly better and funnier but still bad? If the CEO themselves just posted a video of them sticking both their middle fingers up and making a song about how they do not care about their consumers anymore. Well, I wish the worst for you, Sony. That's all I can say now. I wish for the worst for you. Yeah, sorry to be doom and gloom throughout the majority of this video, but this hurts. This really hurts. What a way to throw your legacy in the bin, Sony. Jesus. And from what we've been hearing from multiple news sources, yeah, Microsoft are most definitely gonna do the same with the next Xbox. They even said that there could be a feature where you digitize your games. Yeah, no thank you, I'd rather not. Nintendo can obviously do this too, we can't rule them out either, but they're less likely to for multiple reasons. Culturally, Japan like physical media. I respect you guys, I too like physical media. And Nintendo have always been quite a stubborn company. They've always kind of done their own thing. But yeah, I thought I'd mention Nintendo too because you can't rule that out either. They could absolutely go all digital. All of this honestly really scares me. With the way things are going, the future for gaming and God knows what else looks really bleak right now. To be completely honest, I want a future where you can still own what you buy. I want a future where children still get discs or cartridges in game cases on Christmas Day. They unwrap their presents, they're happy about their new game, they see the disc or the cartridge, they rush into their rooms to put it in and play on that day. I want a future where developers and artists can feel like they're sharing their ideas with the world and that their hard work won't be thrown in the bin because not enough money was made for the higher ups to afford the yacht that they will never use. I want a future where video games are seen as art, just like films, where you have your Terminators, you have the next 3D Mario or something like that. I want a future where AI slop and AI slop factories are illegal. No, I am not calling them data centers. You can't make me. Isn't this fun times we're living in? Isn't this fun? Jesus Christ. Alright, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. Oh my god, I am so sorry for all that gloom that I've put upon you, but this needed to be addressed because I care deeply about physical media, okay? I care really deeply about this. And you must too, if you managed to watch this far into the video. Let me be honest with you. Video games mean so much more to me than just entertainment. They're art. People spend years making video games, whether it be for fun or to spread a message, and they're constantly under the pressure of people in suits who couldn't care less about what the game was about, they just want money. We have lost so many games over the years as companies would rather move on to the next thing rather than celebrate what was made and of course celebrate the artists that brought the vision to life. You can still fight for physical media, absolutely, despite what Sony said. Obviously, buying physical copies is a really good way to start. And personally, I would recommend you cancel your PlayStation Plus and just do not indulge with them anymore. I know, again, like the GTA 6 segment, this sounds pointless and at the end of the day, it's your money, you do what you want. But if you manage to watch to this point in the video, and you genuinely care about physical media, stop supporting Sony, stop supporting PlayStation, do not buy the PS6. But yeah, that was the current state of physical media, or physical media is in deep danger, as the title will be. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know how you felt about this video and the topic at hand. Fight for physical media. The future is only as inevitable as you and corporations want it to be.